All right, so we're gonna do the chocolate truffles today, and so what you're gonna need is I sent you guys the recipe. You're gonna need 10 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. You're gonna need 8 ounces of heavy cream. I'm using this one. You can buy the one from the supermarket or whatever. Heavy whipping cream, manufacturing cream, any of that works. You want a little bit of butter. Okay, it's actually like 1 tablespoon of butter. And then you can add things like orange zest, lemon zest, peppermint extract. You can add Grand Marnier or any kind of liquor of your choice. All right. So what we're going to do first is we're literally going to take our chocolate and we're going to melt it. I'm going to put it up here in the microwave for like a minute. Start. I'm going to take my heavy cream. I'm going to stick it into a pot, turn it on full blast, and I'm going to toss my butter in there as well. I bring that to a boil, set this aside. And what I'm making right now is I'm making what we call ganache. Ganache, go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and make ganache right now. So ganache is it's just chocolate and heavy cream. That's it. What I'm gonna do later is I'm gonna temper some chocolate, and we're gonna talk about tempering here in a minute. And I have some seeding, some extra chocolate to add to kind of bring the temperature of the chocolate down. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I also have some decorations. I have some sprinkles, chocolate sprinkles. I have some cocoa powder, stuff like that. I also have some triangular sheets of parchment paper. And what I'm going to do with those is I'm actually going to take, so I have like an isosceles triangle here. What I want to do is just pick the middle, roll it over, and make what the French call cornet. Everybody say cornet, right? Cornet. So I go ahead and do that. I make a nice cone. I want to make sure it's nice and sharp on top. And I fold this in like this. Super easy, step-by-step. Instruction can be found in your book, On Baking book, right? So, okay. So we have our cone. We're going to set that aside. You heard my chocolate just went off the microwave. I went ahead and just start mixing that a little bit. All right, and then I'm just going to add that to. Right, I have the cream here. I'm just going to go ahead and use. Maybe I can use a larger bowl here. I'll use a larger bowl. It'll be easier to mix. Use that. It'll be my tempered chocolate later. And so I'm going to go ahead. My chocolate is just a little bit. It's not cold anymore. Not room temperature anymore. It's a little bit warm. I nuked it for about a minute, right? Okay. Then I'm going to take my towels. There we go. Take my cream, which has just come to a boil. I'm going to go ahead and add that right to my chocolate, just like that. Set this aside. And we'll just go ahead and mix it up. So I got the chocolate in there. I have the cream in there. I have the butter in there. I'm just going to go ahead and mix it up. Easy. Easy. So I got a bunch of people joining. That's great. So this is the ganache right now. It is chocolate, butter, heavy cream, mixed up. Once you do that, you want to set it into a refrigerator or a freezer or something like that for about an hour. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and through the magic of television, I have one that's already been in the freezer for about an hour. So set that aside. And now what I'm going to do is just grab a spoon. I'm going to grab some gloves. So I want to put some gloves on so I can just roll them in my hands, you see? Everybody see? There we go. Pull it back a little bit. There we go. All right, and so I have the gloves. I'm just going to roll them into like 3/4 inch balls. So I just scrape the ganache. This is called ganache now, right? And I'll just roll it into a ball. Now, it doesn't have to be a perfect ball. The reason why is because, again, truffles are not perfectly round. Truffles are found in Périgord, France. And they're a mushroom, right? And so these are chocolate truffles. So they're supposed to resemble the truffles, right, from France, right? So it doesn't have to be perfectly round, all right? It just have to be just like that, right? So you go ahead and just roll them, scoop it, roll it, scoop it. I'm just going to do a couple more. Right? and I'm just setting them down, right? So I'm just lining them up onto a sheet tray. Now, any sheet tray, you could actually line the sheet tray with parchment paper. I have like a little Silpat here. These silicone baking mats really work well for this. Again, if you don't have those, it's fine. You can just use a piece of aluminum foil, piece of plastic wrap, a piece of parchment paper, wax paper, whatever you got. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and set this aside because again, it'll take time to do that. And I didn't want to make the video too long. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my gloves in there. I'm going to go into my refrigerator and I'm going to grab the tray that I made earlier.
Under.
It's in the freezer. All right, so I made an entire tray earlier. We stuck them in the freezer. It could be stuck in the fridge or the freezer, doesn't matter. They're gonna get you know, a little bit hard. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put on some new gloves. I'm gonna take my chocolate now and I'm gonna put it in the microwave. Now, talk a little bit about chocolate tempering now for a couple of seconds while I'm allowing that to just cook in the microwave for about 2 minutes or so. So chocolate, I'm just using chocolate. You want to use a high quality chocolate. If you can see the chocolate here, I've chopped it up. This is just a store-bought bittersweet chocolate. Place to buy decent chocolate, you know, that you can get here in Southern California would be like Trader Joe's, for example, right? And you want to just chop that up. So I have about 10 ounces to about 4 ounces of the separate chocolate. And the reason why I'm doing that is because chocolate has 3 components, right? It's cacao, cocoa butter, and sugar. So cacao, cocoa butter, and sugar, right? So when the chocolate melts, the cacao, the cocoa butter, and the sugar, they separate, right? Now the cheaper chocolates, what they'll do is they'll take that cocoa butter out and they'll replace it with like cheap vegetable shortenings and stuff. You don't want to use those cheaper chocolates, like Mars chocolates or Hershey's chocolates. Those aren't going to be good for this. So you want to get that good high quality chocolate, one it says imported from France or imported from Holland or imported from Switzerland. One of those nice chocolates, right? And then again, you want to just chop it up. We're gonna heat it up, and when we heat it up, we're gonna separate out the components of the chocolate, right? And the components of the chocolate are, again, one more time: cacao, cocoa butter, sugar, right? Cacao, cocoa butter, sugar. So I've gone ahead, I've melted the chocolate in the microwave oven. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a spoon here. I'm just gonna go ahead and stir it up. Now you can see how I'll bring this down a little bit. There we go, right there. So you can see how the chocolate just gets melted, and then you can actually see the shiny part floating on the top, and that's the cocoa butter, and the cacao is the stuff, the dark stuff, the bitter stuff in there, right? And that makes it bitter. And then the sugar is added to give it some sweetness, right? Because chocolate is a superfood. One of the great things about chocolate, right? It's a superfood. The only thing that's bad in there is it's the sugar, right? So anyway, let's move this up a bit so that everybody can see. There we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to seed the chocolate. And that's the technique it's called seeding, right? Now, I could actually pour it out onto a marble table like here I have in my kitchen here at home. During the quarantine, I could actually pour that onto my table. What we're trying to do is we're trying to cool it back down. So once it melted at like 125 or 130 degrees. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring that back down to about body temperature, right? About 95, 98 degrees, right? And then just below that, at about 92 or so, that's when we're going to have the chocolate come back together again. It is going to, the cacao, the cocoa butter, and the sugar, the chains in the chocolate, the fat in the chocolate is going to all re-emulsify and come back together again. And then you're going to have this beautiful shiny chocolate. Now, at that point, you can actually dip your chocolate dipped strawberries in there, or you can do whatever you want. Chocolate dipped dried fruits. In this case, I'm gonna dip the chocolate truffles, right? And so I'm gonna go ahead and grab another sheet tray here. So I have one here. I can go into here. Excuse me. Okay. All right, so the reason why I want to go from the dirty to the clean, and again, I have a silicone baking mat. All right, and so I've got the tempered chocolate here. Okay, and I have the chocolate truffles, which have been cooled down, kind of frozen a little bit, right? And so what I'm going to do now is I'm literally going to just drop them into the chocolate. I'm going to use gloved hands. You could just use some forks or spoons, or you can actually make some really fancy chocolate dipping forks, you know, and stuff like that. But I just like to dip it and roll it a little bit and set it down. And I'm going to do like maybe 8 or 10, just like this. And what it's doing is it's allowing that beautiful coating of out, because the ganache is going to be soft, it's going to be chewy, right? Especially if it's kept at room temperature for a while. And you want to have kind of like a crunchy layer of chocolate on the outside, kind of like the See's Candy kind of thing, you know? So those of you who want, you can get a job at See's Candy after this, right? No, not the store, but the factory, right? I'm not sure if they're closed for quarantine. But I know that tomorrow's Mom's Day, right? Mother's Day, so maybe you guys can work on this for Mother's Day. I've gone ahead and included some of the recipes in your announcements today in Canvas. So check your announcements in Canvas. If you have any questions about the chocolate truffles, you guys can go ahead and contact me. All right, I'll be on my cell phone today. I'll also be on the chat. You could also take the you could also ask questions in the chat window of the Zoom video that's happening right now. So if you guys missed any part of this video at all, it's going to be posted onto YouTube in just a little while. So I've gone ahead, I've got about 10 of these, and I've placed them on the tray like this. I'm going to show you a couple of different other techniques on how to bring it together. So, all right, let me change my gloves real quick. All right, and I'm going to get a couple bowls. I got a couple bowls here. One is I'm gonna place some sprinkles in one, and I'm gonna place some chocolate sprinkles in the other. I'm gonna place some cocoa powder in the other. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Before I use up too much of my chocolate, I'm gonna go ahead and pour some of it into my bag, where I'm going to be using this later for drizzling onto my chocolate truffles that I've just created, right? So I don't want to use up too much of that, so we'll go ahead and save some of that. See how I've made that bag? And it comes out in a perfect cornet. And then I'll go ahead and cut the tip off in a little while, right? Get some chocolate off my arm. All right, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put some new gloves on. And I'm going to go ahead and dip the rest of the chocolate truffles into the chocolate and then into the decorative material there. Okay. So again, chocolate, right? Roll it, and then roll it in, right? So I'm going to go back in a little bit later. So if you have a couple people, you can actually work together with that. I'm going to grab a spoon so I don't contaminate all my spoons. And then you just kind of toss them around, and now they are beautiful, covered with chocolate sprinkles, like that. So there's a couple of those, and maybe a couple with the chocolate ones. Roll them up. Again, this is the glue, so it's going to stick together with the little bit of chocolate, the tempered chocolate that I've melted in the microwave and then tempered using the seed method, right? With a little bit of the cacao, cocoa butter, sugar, all that. So I'm dipping, rolling, placing, right? And then again, can come into here now and cover them with the chocolate sprinkles this time, all right? And then place them on your tray. Again, it's gonna look a little bit messy now, and then later on you'll take them off the tray. After they chill down a little bit more, you'll take them off the tray. You can put them in little paper cups if you want, or you can package them up, put them in a little box with tissue paper for your mom or whatever. All right, so this is my favorite. This one is you cover it with the cocoa powder. This is actually the traditional French way, right? So we're going to just toss it in the cocoa powder. Again, roll it, toss it in the cocoa powder, roll it, toss it in the cocoa powder. Again, you can make these chocolate truffles. I've sent you a couple of different recipes. You can make them with white chocolate. You can make it with dark chocolate, like I have here, or you can make them with milk chocolate. It doesn't matter. As long as you use that high quality chocolate that we talked about, making sure that you use the one that's imported from France or Switzerland or or Holland or whatever. Just a high quality chocolate that has the cacao, cocoa butter, and sugar. I'm going to go ahead and just toss these around just by moving it around like this in my hand. And then grab another spoon. And then these have that little kind of a real chocolate kind of a texture to the outside there. And the only thing is you got to be careful when you're breathing in. You're not going to breathe in a big mouthful of the cocoa powder. And then I'm sure you guys have done that before. It's kind of funny. All right, so all our chocolate truffles are done, except, let me just finish. I'm going to go ahead and use the scissor I have right here. I'm going to take some of this tempered chocolate that I have in the little bag here, just cut the tip off, right, ever so small like that. And then I'm going to, and again, at this point, you can actually take that and you can make like filigrees or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and just drizzle it over the top of the chocolate itself so you can see. So again, I'm just going to go over the top. Remember how, the See's candy has that little drizzle over the top. You guys can go ahead and just do that. Just do a little drizzle right on top. If you guys don't have the capability of buying the chocolate or whatever, I have a bunch here, and we can make arrangements to get that to you. Either we'll drive it to you, or we can make arrangements to meet you halfway, or whatever this week. So let me know if you need. This one, the bag is stuck. Let me know if you need some chocolate this week. I will be able to get that to you. I have like, I don't know, 3 or 4 pounds here that I was able to get from the school this week. Anyway, okay, so any questions? Let me check the chat, see if we have any questions here.